Unit 3, Education in Society, 3.1. The value of education in society. Education has a great social importance, especially in the modern, complex industrialized societies. Philosophers of all periods, beginning with ancient ages, devoted to it a great deal of attention. Accordingly, various theories regarding its nature and objective have come into being. Let us now examine some of the significant functions of education after brainstorming on the following questions. Do you believe that education is absolutely necessary in today's society? Explain. Does being educated make a significant difference in someone's life? Explain. Education is the process of learning and acquiring knowledge at school from a teacher, receiving knowledge at home from a parent, a family member, and even an acquaintance. Education is a key that allows people to move up in the world, seek better jobs, and succeed in life. Education is one factor that affects job positions people hold, advance in their further career, the income they make, and the title they hold. The more educated a person is, the more prestige and power that person holds. However, unfortunately, we have places in the world where not everyone has an opportunity or chance to receive formal education. There are many countries in the world where there is a high population of people who are illiterate. Partly because most of the country resides in villages and not in cities, where education is more prevalent. Most of the people living in villages spend majority of their time in cultivating crops and harvesting their fields and don't find it necessary to be educated in order to harvest their fields or to do household chores. The girls living in villages marry at a young age and later get busy with family and doing household chores. For instance, dominant in rural Ethiopian culture, girls commonly get married at an early age and are advised to stay home and take care of the household instead of studying or working. That's the reason why a lot of parents in rural Ethiopia are worried about getting their daughter married rather than her education. For citizens to be educated is the most important thing, not only for success in one's life, but the better educated population plays an important role in making a nation more successful and well-rounded. Receiving formal education is vital, but to achieve success in life, informal education is also essential. One can learn English, history, math, science in school, and be book smart. Furthermore, one can learn how to live life by knowing what to say when, acting a certain way in specific situation, and be street smart. You can have all the book knowledge in the world about a certain profession, but if you don't know how to behave with your colleagues and your superiors, then having book knowledge won't take you too far. To achieve success in life and reaching a point in life where people respect you for what you are is what makes a difference, because at that point you excel in both formal and informal education. Education is very important and no one should be deprived of it. 3.2. What is education worth to society? After all, education has so many effects and consequences for a society. It's not just about being in school, or even finding and maintaining a career after graduation. It goes so much deeper than that. To name but a few, the benefits of education include a heightened sense of competence and self-confidence, a feeling of social belonging and empowerment, and a sense of fulfillment from contributing knowledge to society. Education also gives people friends and contacts in professional circles which they wouldn't have had otherwise. These professional connections may ultimately add up to a class difference. Class isn't just about money, but about one's social status, which is defined by one's profession, knowledge, skills, and connections. Education provides an anchor not just for graduates but also for their family and friends. That's because people with valuable knowledge and skills are in a better financial position to provide for them financially. They are also able to share the benefits of their knowledge and skills with those around them. A similar argument applies to people's lives. If someone yearns to gain an understanding of themselves and their world through the pursuit of education, is that a good enough reason for them to attend school, regardless of their ability to pay? An inverse way of asking this question is it right to limit a person's education if she can't afford to pay for it? Beyond this range of relatively evident benefits of education lie less obvious ones. For instance, what is the value of knowledge for the sake of knowledge? This is an oft-debated question in the sciences, particularly when it comes to competing for funding. Many people believe there should always be funding for scientific exploration for its own sake, without set objectives, because the quest for knowledge has a high intrinsic value. Is it even possible to measure the benefits of education in dollars and cents? And if you could, would that price be worth it? What do you think? What is education worth to you? Who should pay for it? Such questions lead to more questions. If we can agree that education is supremely valuable and worth almost any price, who should pay it? If the benefits of education go beyond the individual and enhance society as a whole, should we ask individuals to pay for education, or should it be paid for through more equitable wealth distribution? Education, if looked at beyond its conventional boundaries, forms the very essence of all our actions. What we do is what we know and have learned either through instructions or through observation and assimilation. When we are not making an effort to learn, our mind is always processing new information or trying to analyze the similarities as well as the tiny nuances within the context which makes the topic stand out or seem different. If that is the case, then the mind definitely holds the potential to learn more. However, it is us who stop ourselves from expanding the horizons of our knowledge with self-doubt or other social, emotional, or economic constraints. While most feel that education is a necessity, they tend to use it as a tool for reaching a specific target or personal mark, after which there is no further need to seek greater education. Nonetheless, the importance of education in society is indispensable and cohering, which is why society and knowledge cannot be ever separated into two distinct entities. Let us find out more about the role of education in society and how it affects our lives. Education is self-empowerment. Receiving a good education helps empower you, thus making you strong enough to look after yourself in any given situation. It keeps you aware of your given surrounding as well as the rules and regulations of the society you're living in. It's only through knowledge that you can be able to question authority for its negligence or discrepancies. It is only then that you can avail your rights as a citizen and seek improvement in the structural functioning of governance and economy. It's only when a citizen is aware about the policies of its government can he be able to support or protest the change. As a whole, people can bring about development only when they know where improvement is necessary for the greater good of mankind. Education helps you understand yourself better. It helps you realize your potential and qualities as a human being. It helps you to tap into latent talent, so that you may be able to sharpen your skills. Financial stability and dignity of life. Another importance of education is that it helps you gain sufficient academic qualifications so that you are able to get suitable employment at a later stage. A decent employment would be combined with hard-earned remuneration or salary through which you can look after your personal expenses. While you earn for yourself, you gradually begin to realize the true worth of money and how hard it is to earn it. You realize the significance of saving for a rainy day and for unforeseeable contingencies. You feel empowered because there is a new sense of worth that develops within you, and you feel the need to be independent and free from any further financial support. You take pride in the fact that you are earning for yourself, and are not obligated to anyone. Growth in personal aspiration. There also comes a phase when the amount you're earning presently will seem inadequate because your aspirations and expectations from yourself would have grown considerably. After this, you will want to change jobs so as to have a higher profile. However, here is when you need to be prepared. A promotion of this figure can occur in two given situations, which are that either you have the necessary higher academic qualification or a college degree which allows you a safe passage, or that you have amassed enough practical experience which allows you to be a suitable candidate for the employment you seek. On-the-job efficiency. This is why college education is very important after high school and must not be taken for granted. When faced with the option of choosing between a highly qualified candidate and a not-so-educated candidate, the employers will most probably go in for the qualified person. The reason being that a qualified candidate will not require much investment of the employer's time and money. The organization need not teach him or her the tricks of the trade, or the various ways of functioning and performing the tasks of the workplace. On the contrary, a novice/amateur applicant would need to be taught everything from scratch, which many employers are usually not willing to do. The same applies for people who seek higher education and get advanced diplomas while working. These people are continuously improving their profile and their knowledge base so as to go higher up on the competitive ladder. Helps plan ahead. Those who have amassed enough education steer the path of development and progress for their country. It is these individuals who go ahead and become teachers, scientists, inventors, welfare activists, soldiers, and politicians who work together to form the very backbone of the society. Without this pool of intellect, the economic and social framework would crumple and fall, paving its way for anarchy, degradation, and violence. While this intricate balance of growth is maintained, there will be a continuous rise in progress in all quarters of life, whether that be personal growth or development of the nation as an entity. This progress has a very important role to play for the coming generations, which will reap the benefits of our hard work as they develop it further. At the same time, the negative impact of our actions shall have its collateral damage on the coming generation as well. Which is why we must be exceptionally prudent about the decisions we make and the actions we take in the present. Job seeker versus job provider. There will come a time when you will no longer feel the need to be working as someone's mere employee. You would want to take charge and control over your own life and income. This is when you will decide to become a self-employed individual who would like to watch his/her own ideas take realistic form. You would prefer being the one offering job opportunities to others and aid in providing income to them. At this stage of entrepreneurship, you may use your own expertise as well as that of other trained and skilled associates. As a team, you will find your business or venture expanding and yielding good results. You may even gain the confidence and insight, which will help you diversify and spread your expertise into other business arenas, which were previously unknown to you, or you were unsure about. This ability comes with experience and knowledge amassed over the years. An idle mind is the devil's workshop. Education and studying regularly gives people of all age groups something substantial and challenging to do. It helps them think and use their idle hours, doing something productive and worthwhile. Education need not be purely academic and may include reading for leisure or as a passion for literature, philosophy, art, politics, economics, or even scientific research. There is no limit to all that you can teach yourself, only if you take the interest to learn and grow as an individual. However, those who treat knowledge as trash eventually find themselves getting absorbed with thoughts of violence and jealousy against those who are better off than themselves. It is people such as these who turn towards drug addiction, unnecessary rebellion, crime, and plain inactivity. Such people lack the self-esteem that a good education often provides to its followers. Education plays its continuous role in all spheres of life. The reason being that if we are aware of the drawbacks of a decision and we know about the possible contingencies and the collateral damage, our consequent actions would be wiser, which would help us to keep danger at bay at all times. 3.3 School and Societal Participation. School is a place where a definite curriculum is taught to children during a definite duration of time by definite teachers. In the ancient time, human life was very simple. Knowledge had not grown so vast as it is today. Human needs were very simple and could be easily fulfilled by informal agencies like the family and the community. Gradually, with the development of vast and varied knowledge and growth of overpopulation, needs of man increased and the form of culture and civilizations also become so complex and complicated that it becomes almost impossible for parents to transmit it to their children. Furthermore, most of the parents and other members of the family became so busily engaged in their own vocations or other professions that they were not capable enough to educate their young ones diverse subjects of curriculum. Hence the need was felt some such institution which could preserve, transmit and develop the cultural heritage. School is the only formal agency capable to transmit the huge treasure of knowledge or extensive cultural heritage to the rising generation. It is also a connecting link between the family and the external world. Schools provide a special and well-organized environment before the child according to a pre-planned scheme which ensures the physical, mental, emotional and social development of the child in a natural way. Schools ensure the harmonious development of child personality through pre-planned objectives. Schools bring together children belonging to different religions, creeds and social hierarchy and mix them up freely with each other in a friendly atmosphere that they develop sympathy, cooperation, tolerance and respect for the views and cultures of others. It is an important agency to develop cultural pluralism. School is an also important agency for the propagation of ideals and ideologies of state. It helps in the perpetuation and development of society in that all social problems and needs of society are flashed in one way or the other in school which provide the desired solutions for all the problems of society. Schools provide experiences for the child to understand social behavior and develop in him a sense of social responsibility. Children learn their rights and duties and develop love, affection, sympathy and cooperation and responsibility in schools. That is, it helps in the creation of educated citizens. It can be said that school is a better place of education than home. School is the only agency through which cooperation of different agencies such as the family, the community and the state may be successfully achieved. Schools can be classified as traditional and modern or progressive schools. Traditional schools impart only formal education. Such schools came into existence when family failed to impart the needed education to its children. In early times the state and the church were not separate institutions. Later the state separated from the church and democratic trends began to appear in the working of the state, which enabled more people to receive education. Modern or progressive schools have emphasized child-centered education. The entire educationists have opposed the traditional schools in which ready-made knowledge is thrust upon the minds of child forcibly without caring for their individual differences. In traditional schools, more importance is given to the subject matter than the child. Hence, dozens of content are forced down into the minds of children without paying attention to their interests, inclinations and capabilities, whereas in progressive schools, the personality of each child is honored. Hence, each child is provided such pleasant and conducive environment in which he develops his personality according to his innate tendencies, capabilities and speed. Thus the modern school seeks to replace information by experience and chooses the most significant and abiding aspects of experiences for its subject matter, and thereby makes school life active and meaningful. In traditional schools, a child receives education as a passive listener, whereas progressive schools impart useful, constructive and practical knowledge to the child. More emphasis is given to social values, development of personality and considered as centers of community life. Major goals of school society: participation. The interest in greater participation in development derives from the belief that such participation can achieve several goals. These include: 1. Ideological goals, to empower people in order to ensure their greater control over development and their greater influence over decisions that affect them. 2. Economic goals, both to seek more resources from a wider range of actors and to share the price of development by transferring some costs from the suppliers to the consumers. 3. Political goals, from the government side, to strengthen the legitimacy of the current government and make people co-responsible for social problems. From the popular side, to gain greater share of power in policy making and budget allocations. 4. Programmatic, to increase program or project demand, coverage, relevance, effectiveness, efficiency, success, and sustainability. And 5. Capacity building, to develop new knowledge, skills, and attitudes and provide beneficiaries a useful share in management tasks, monitoring, etc. 3.4 School and community. Education philosopher John Dewey believes that learning occurs within community. In order to establish community in the classroom, we must get to know one another. This includes getting to know your teacher. If we expect our students to open up with us, we must be willing to share with them. Community is a part of the society, and education is the counterpart of both the above-mentioned elements. School is the social institution where consciously designed learning experiences are provided with the objectives of achieving social aim at large, over a period of time. School is also defined as a subsystem of the larger system of the society. It has to functionally coordinate with its immediate environment, the community in which it is situated. The community is meant to employ a wider grouping of people located within fairly recognizable boundaries, and related to each other by socio-economic and civic activities which produce oneness among them sufficient to develop a recognizable identity as a group. The main group and agents involved in the dynamics of the relationship between school and community are school administration, teachers, non-teaching staff, students and parents, governing bodies and school board. beyond immediate proximity with the schools are the local political authorities, governmental bodies and political parties, as well as other public, social and cultural institutions. Parents are always in a constant touch with the school and are a proper channel of the procedure, which is the part of the community. Though parents' meetings in a school is informal of the general ignorance of people in a village regarding keeping their immediate surrounding clean, staff members can take up this as a serious mission. Hence, parents are a counterpart of the school subsystem. School parent-community activities, parent-teacher communication. Research shows that children do better in school when parents talk often with teachers and become involved in the school. There are a number of ways that parents and teachers can communicate with each other, rather than relying on the scheduled parent-teacher conferences. Close communications between parents and teachers can help the student. Parents who participate in school activities and events will have added opportunities to communicate with teachers. Becoming involved with parent-teacher organizations, TOTA, and booster clubs gives the teacher and parent the possibility to interact outside the classroom. In addition, the parent also will have input into decisions that may affect their child's education. Teachers usually welcome meeting their students' parents early in the school year. Making an effort to do this will help the teacher better understand you, your child, and how you will support the education of your child. Teachers appreciate knowing that parents are concerned and interested in their child's progress. And this helps open the lines of communication. Another good investment in your child's education is to volunteer. Depending upon parents' availability, interests, and the needs of the school, the opportunities are endless. Some suggestions include lunchroom monitor, tutoring, library aide, classroom speaker on a specific topic of interest, and concession worker at school events. Parents should take stock of their skills and interests to volunteer. School personnel may not know what parents want to do as a volunteer. Phone calls and visits to the classroom are also good ways to cooperate with teachers and keep informed about your child's progress. Discuss appropriate times and means of contact with the teacher. Parent-teacher conferences are often scheduled at the time of the first report card for the school year. For parents and teachers, this is a chance to talk one-on-one about the student. The parent-teacher conference is a good opportunity to launch a partnership between parent and teacher that will function during the school year. Communication between school and parents and community members play an important role in their children's education, and a strong partnership between parents and schools enriches the learning experience. There are many both formal and informal opportunities for parents to find out about their children's progress at school. Reports on student performance. All schools provide parents with a written report on their child's performance at least twice a year. School annual reports. All schools publish an annual report on the school's website by the 30th June each year for the previous year. The information includes distinctive curriculum offerings, extracurricular activities, characteristics of the student body, total number of enrollments, year levels offered, staff development priorities, social climate of the school, including pastoral care programs, parent, teacher and student satisfaction with the school, strategies used for involving parents in their child's education, staff composition and qualifications of teachers, expenditure on professional development, average staff attendance. Newsletters. These days, schools produce regular newsletters to inform parents, caregivers and the community about school activities, developments and initiatives. Letters. Schools often communicate about specific issues by way of a personal letter, usually sent home with the student. Personal appointments. Parents are encouraged to meet with any staff member at a mutually convenient time at their child's school to discuss relevant issues and concerns. Every school offers parent-teacher interviews each semester. Ways to keep in touch. Every school gives parents a report on their child's progress at least once a year. You'll also be invited to attend at least one parent-teacher meeting during the year. To keep you informed about other issues, example, after-school clubs, dinner money, outings, letters will be sent home with your children, and/or emailed. Some schools use text messages to communicate urgent information, example, school closures. Absence. You'll need to contact the school if your child is absent because of illness or a hospital appointment. If your child doesn't turn up and you haven't explained why, the school may telephone you to make sure they aren't truanting. Many schools encourage parents to email teachers direct. This is a quick and easy way to tackle problems at an early stage without making an appointment. Parent-teacher meetings at primary school. At parent-teacher meetings you can meet your child's class teacher to find out how they're doing. At primary school, your child doesn't usually come with you. Their teacher will give you an outline of what your child is learning and how well they're keeping up. You'll be able to see recent examples of their work. The appointment will usually be for 10 minutes and during the early evening. Parent-teacher meetings at secondary school. For secondary school parent-teacher meetings, your child will usually come with you. At secondary school, pupils have different teachers for each subject, so you'll need to meet your child's form tutor as well as their subject teachers. This can make secondary school parent-teacher evenings complicated, and schools organize them in different ways. Usually subject teachers sit at desks in the main hall and you queue to see them. Sometimes you and your child sit at a desk and the teachers move around. If there are issues you don't want to discuss in front of your child, contact the school and make a separate appointment. Many of today's leaders in education, business and community development are coming to realize schools alone cannot prepare our youth for productive adulthood. It is evident schools and communities should work closely with each other to meet their mutual goals. Schools can provide more support for students, families and staff when they are an integral part of the community. On the other hand, agencies can make services more accessible to youth and families by linking with schools, and they can connect better with and have an impact on hard-to-reach clients. Appropriate and effective collaboration and teaming are seen as key factors to community development, learning and family self-sufficiency. Partnerships should be considered as connections between schools and community resources. The partnership may involve use of school or neighborhood facilities and equipment. Sharing other resources. Collaborative fundraising and grant applications. Volunteer assistance. Mentoring and training from professionals and others with special expertise. Information sharing and dissemination. Networking. Recognition and public relations. Shared responsibility for planning, implementation and evaluation of programs and services. Expanding opportunities for internships, jobs, recreation and building a sense of community. School-community partnerships can interconnect together many resources and strategies to enhance communities that support all youth and their families. They could improve schools, strengthen neighborhoods and lead to a noticeable reduction in young people's problems. Building such partnerships requires visioning, strategic planning, creative leadership and new multifaceted roles for professionals who work in schools and communities. Partnerships. The following list reflects community resources that could all currently partner with schools, county agencies and bodies, departments of health, mental health, children and family services, public social services, Office of Education, police and fire departments, planning area councils, recreation and parks, library, housing authority, etc., municipal agencies and bodies, parks and recreation, library, courts, civic event units, TSA, United Way, Lincoln Action Program, Mediation Center, Clothing and Food Pantry, Visiting Nurses Association, Cancer Society, Red Cross, Salvation Army, volunteer agencies, Human Services Federation, service clubs and philanthropic organizations, Lions Club, Rotary Club, veterans groups, Woods Charitable Fund, Lincoln Community Foundation, Southeast Community Foundation, Cooper Foundation, Community Services Fund, etc., youth agencies and groups, Boys and Girls Clubs, Scouts, 4-H, Cedars Youth Services, Child Advocacy Center, etc., Sports Health Fitness Outdoor Groups, YMCA of Lincoln, Cornhusker Place, athletic leagues, local gyms, conservation associations, etc., community-based organizations, neighborhood and homeowners associations, neighborhood watch patrol, block clubs, housing project associations, economic development groups, community development corporations, civic associations, faith community institutions, the Lincoln Interfaith Council, Catholic Social Services, Lutheran Family Services, congregations and subgroups, etc., ethnic associations, Asian Community Center, Hispanic Community Center, Indian Center, Germans from Russia Society, etc., artists and cultural institutions, museums, art galleries, zoo, theater groups, TV and radio stations, literary clubs, art groups, writers' organizations, collectors groups, businesses, corporations, unions, neighborhood business associations, Chamber of Commerce, Goodwill Industries, local shops, restaurants, banks, AAA, school employee unions, media, local newspapers, TV and radio, local access cable, family members, local residents, senior citizens groups. There are a variety of activities in which schools can become involved to build improve school community partnerships. Below are some suggestions. Encourage community use of school facilities. Often the school buildings sit empty after the end of the normal school day. Encouraging non-profit community groups to use the facilities is not only good use of resources but also provides opportunities for the school to get involved in community projects. Back to School Week. Choose a week during the school year to invite parents and community members to your school. Make a special effort to personally invite community and business leaders to attend school for the day, or part of the day. News releases mailed to local media could be a good strategy for public relations and community outreach programs. Newsletters. Provide periodic newsletters not only to the families of the students, but also to board members, business leaders and other community members. A simple database can be used to include new people. Encourage members of the school community to suggest other folks who might be included in the mailing list. On a roll, in the local media, publish a list of students who made significant accomplishment during the school year. There are a variety of ways through which the school can open itself to parents and the community through specific activities rather than through organized associations. while relatively low on the range of participation with parents largely an audience at school-organized events. Such activities might be useful in mobilizing parental interest in what is happening in school and is a first necessary step towards the evolution of greater and more meaningful participation. Structures between the school and parents. These include parent associations and parent-teacher associations. These may be formed around individual classes, grades, and/or the entire school, and depending on their mandate, the power of a school management committee or a school board. Parent groups may also form into alumni organizations or private foundations in support of the school. Ultimately, perhaps, this kind of organization can become what has been called the school community, which brings families and school personnel together for a central and noble purpose, to enhance the academic and personal development of the children they share. Reading 1991 153. Such a community is based on several precepts: that children learn more, and more children remain in school to learn, when a sense of community prevails among families and school personnel. That school can create such a community bound together by attachment to a common institution and by adherence to explicit educational values. That a school council of the principal, teachers, and parents, nurtured through the education of parents and teachers, good school-home communication, common experience, and association, can adopt such values, transform them into goals, establish and define expectations for all community members, and help ensure that the practices of both families and school personnel are congruent with the values of the community. Reading 1991. School and community organizations beyond the PTA. Organizations may have different names and structures. They can be a school management committee, a board of governors, or a school board. Their members can be nominated representatives of important formal institutions in the community, such as local religious bodies, local government, and NGOs, individuals selected in some kind of community-wide election, or community members chosen as representatives of often lay organized interest groups, such as women's organizations and traditional cultural societies. Any of these groups may have several functions which may also be taken on by more limited PTAs, developing a general educational policy for the school. Formulating annual programs in terms of enrollment, retention, and achievement. Supervising, maintaining, and improving school grounds and buildings, perhaps through contractual arrangements with village residents. Making arrangements concerning joint use of school facilities. Participating in the selection of principals and deputies. Employing ancillary staff. Administering grants and resources. Mobilizing additional resources, for example, for teacher housing, extra classes for teachers. Monitoring and evaluating ongoing programs. Generating and sustaining awareness among the village community, particularly of the non-participating segments of the population. Serving as a channel for school accountability to the community. Being a source of innovations and new ideas. Certain methods were adopted in the project to develop the conditions necessary for community involvement in analyzing the nature of the primary education system. B. Possible alternatives manageable by the community with technical support from outside and human resource support from government and non-government individuals. And C. The interlinkages, both short-term and long-term, of UPE with activities for better. The methods consisted of A. Participatory surveys and study of the educational status of each village, leading to preparation of systematic microplans. B. Involvement of secondary schools, the grassroots personnel of government departments, and others in the informal planning activity. C. Advisory committees involving officials from the level of the Director of Education to that of the Education Extension Officer. D. Political support of the idea of UPE through alternative channels. E. Inviting the community organizations to actively engage in united action towards UPE. F. Enabling the community to organize youth groups, women's groups, children's squads, etc. to participate in overall village development. G. Drawing together non-professional educated people from each village, in consultation with the villagers, and training them not just to teach but to study further for their own development. H. Selecting education co-coordinators to be substituted at a future date for education inspectors in the education system from the rural areas, known to the communities as their own people. I. Intensively training education co-coordinators as agents for educational and social change. J. Concretizing the program of establishing. K. Mounting support program for UPE by setting up preschools, literacy groups and people's education houses, and holding orientation camps for women, youth and children. L. Preparing and providing well-designed training materials for the partner. M. Designing curricula and teaching learning materials by inviting the community and other collaborators to check the cultural and developmental relevance of the content and suitability of language. And N. Allowing the formal school teachers and inspectors to gradually come under the impact of these activities to make the primary school more functional. Several writers have identified a number of features that are unique to educational institutions and their management. Some of the prominent ones are presented as follows. According to Campbell and his colleagues, 1963 schools or educational organizations have the following unique characteristics. 1. Public visibility and sensitivity. For various reasons, school and its functions are more visible and sensitive to members of the community larger than any other organizations. Most of the members of the community are sensitive about the service of educational organizations such as schools and their internal operations. Hence, school is required to establish healthy relationship with the community around the school and address diverse expectations and interests of the society. 2. Crucial to the society. Unlike other institutions that deliver identified service to the community, schools provide education and training services that help to capacitate individuals working in different social and economic sectors. It is the base for the effective functioning of all other sectors of a country. Therefore, the school management should give due consideration to the activities that help to fulfill societal demands. 3. Intimacy of necessary relationship. Unlike other organizations, the degree of relationship among school personnel is very strong. The relationship among students, between teachers and students, among teachers and between teachers and parents. 4. Complexity of functions. Schools deals with delivery of training to produce skilled manpower. It directly deals with the human factor, the most complex organism, and attempts to change behaviors. Fulfilling the purpose of teaching, learning and the delivery of training makes the functions of schools complex than other social institutions. 5. Staff professionalization. Unlike other organizations, educational institutions relatively constitute more professionally trained manpower. The fact that professionals need to enjoy more autonomy over their work than other employees makes management of schools special. 6. Difficulty in appraisal. Change of behavior in educational institutions such as schools is not visible in a short period of time. As a result, it is difficult to measure the degree of effect in schools when compared with other social institutions. Bush et al. 1980 also identified the following 4 unique features of educational institutions. 1. Difficulty in defining school objectives as compared to defining industrial objectives. 2. Human beings are the raw materials for schools, and hence, the process of production in schools as training of personnel that can contribute to the effective performance of other organizations. 3. Similarity of the training of the staff. Most staff members, including the school director, are from common background which could be shared through training. 4. Difficulty of measuring educational outputs in a similar way with other institutions. Graf and his colleagues in EALI 1991 have identified the following 5 special characteristics of educational organizations. 1. A school is a unique institution. It provides education and training to the community members and citizens. 2. School takes its direction from all social institutions. The level of knowledge provision and skills training are guided by the needs of the society. This is to mean that the major functions of school are to carry out the responsibilities of implementing educational system that operates to satisfy the needs of community. 3. School is at the vortex of conflicting values. This refers to the idea that children come to school with different experiences, attitudes and values that the schools are responsible to develop and create common values for all the clients or customers. 4. Closeness of school in the community. School has much closer relationship with community. The frequent relationship between the school and the community manifests through the interaction of children and the school as well as parents and the school. 5. School points directly towards people. Provision of knowledge and skill for future consumption. The provision of knowledge and skills is considered as a long-lasting asset for social development.